Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week is a little different. I decided to take a week and do a little watercolor coloring tutorial. Now, this is the perfect set to use it with. This is from our 2020 release. It's called the Lovable Animals Set. I love it because it's easy to color and it comes with a lot of different pieces. So not only do you get all the stamps, but you get all the dies as well. And the way that it works is that the dies cut out the little hands and they can hold all these little different things that come in the set. So here's one holding a little present, here's one holding the little cupcake, and here's one holding the little flower. So they're really fun. It's a fun idea and they're really versatile, but sometimes the coloring can be intimidating. Now, there are a lot of ways to color these things. You could use your alcohol markers, of course, your watercolor markers, your colored pencils. But if those things intimidate you, or you have spent an hour coloring something and then you hate it, try this way because not only is it fast and quick, and you can do it in 5 minutes, but it's super, super easy. And it's a lot of the same techniques that we've used in the past, especially if you watercolor and follow along with these tutorials. So I'm gonna take this week and I'm gonna show you how to color these little guys. Now, they're very light and more pastel looking, and they're kind of they kind of have a vintagey look, but I love that. And I love that you can do them in 5 minutes. Actually, that's my favorite part about it. So I'm going to show you how to color all 4 of these little guys, and then you will be able to color something quickly when you need to. So the first thing we're going to do, let's start out with the little cat. And actually we can kind of put him over here as a reference. And I decided to do him in a gray, so a little tabby cat, but there are different ways that you could color him too. You could follow this same technique and maybe do him in the orange, which would also be really cute. So I'm going to start with the dark brown, and I'm going to ink this whole thing up. This is the dark brown that we use in watercolor. So if, like I said, if you follow these tutorials, you know this combination very well. This is the dark brown and the dark blue over the top, and you know that gives us a really nice gray. And the same thing with these little characters. You want a mix of color, so you don't want anything that's too uniform. And I am, of course, stamping it on my watercolor paper. So I want to be sure that I am getting a good impression. And now I'm going to pinch my brush off, and I'm going to start pulling the color out of the lines, just like we do with everything else. Just start by pulling this color out of the lines. And what you want to remember always with the little characters is you want to keep the area by the eyes light. That's so important. And I'll probably say that in every single one of these little animals, just because it's that important. So that's kind of the life of the character. That's what gives it its personality. And I see that so often. Once you color over the eyes, you've sort of dulled the little character and he's lost his animation. So we're just going to go through here, pull it. You can see how much color is coming out of these lines. So you can see we have a contour here, so we want to see that highlight on the top. And the same over here. Just pull this color out. And over here we've got his little haunches, so we want to see a little bit of a highlight on there. And just kind of come down here like this, see underneath his little feet. And you can color over these little accents because we can color those back in, so that's not a big deal. And his little tail, see the top of his tail, one little highlight on there too. So we've got a really good start here with this little guy. So let's come in and add a little more color to him, and I'm going to do that with the gray from my palette. So let's move this little guy over here so we can see. So I'm going to take some gray here. This is just a gray marker, and I'm going to come in now and add a little more color in here. So down at the bottom, and this is, you know, more of a watercolor look, so it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to stay exactly in the lines. And if it goes outside a little bit, that's okay, because the whole point of it is that it's quick and easy. And really, this is about all we have to do here. So come in here where his little belly is white and just kind of follow these lines and just come in like this. It's going to give you a little more dimension, and in here where his little paws are. And then we want to take the a fine tip. So this is just a fine tip black, and I'm going to really darken in his little eyes and his nose. This is also really, really important. This will give you a lot of dimension. And if you mess up some of these little whiskers, you know, or these little lines here, you can put them back in with a black marker. So now let's add the detail. And we're going to do that with the gray. And we're just going to start out over here and just make some little jagged lines coming in. And if they're not dark enough, just go over them again. And you know, the thing about this technique is that it's very forgiving. So if you don't do it exactly right, it's okay. You're showing the idea. Like obviously this is a little tabby cat. So that's clear, even if his stripes don't all match. And some up here where his little head is. And these kind of come in like this from the top. Wow, that's a loud car. And then in on the side. And let's just put a little shadow under here. And some, let's do some pink on his ears. So maybe just, we can just take a little red here and really wash this out. And just brush this in. And we have finished our first one. Wasn't that quick and easy? Literally 5 minutes. And let's move on to the next one. So let's do the little elephant. Now this guy's a little more pastel. So if you like this light look, this really light look, or you want to do something like this. I made these little accent lines on here like he's just a little stuffed elephant. And you can do that. You can do these really lightly too. So here's how to do that. We're gonna just ink that elephant in the gray. So let me get him on my block here. So we're just going to ink him in a gray first. It's just a light gray, the whole thing. And just go over the whole thing. And I use my markers because sometimes I use different colors, but you can use your ink pads too if you have a light colored gray, as long as it's a water-based. That's going to work. Okay, so we've got our little elephant here. He's cute. And let me put this one here as a reference. And I'm going to add some blue now to my palette. So you can see he's got a little bit of a blue tone to him. I did that after the fact. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is to pull the color out of the lines. And we're going to do that like this, just like we do when we do the watercolor technique. This is how I color everything because it's so quick and easy, and I love that I can do it in just a few minutes. And I also love the watercolor look. I really do. I like that kind of soft look. I like the forgiving part of it. I probably like that the best because I can do it quick, and if it's not perfect, it's okay. So I am using watercolor paper on these. That's important. So that you get a good, you don't buckle your paper by adding too much water. So I am almost finished now. So I'm going to take my fine tip and just darken his little eyes in too. And his little mouth here. And it looks like I didn't do it on this one. I forget that. Let's just do it real quick. You can see how that just pops his little face out. Okay, so now's when we would add the color to him. So we're going to do that from the palette, and I took this is just a warm blue. This is a 526 Tombow. And if you've watched any of my tutorials, you know I love this color. I love this color. I think I find a way to use it in every single tutorial, somewhere in it. Okay, so remember the tip about the eyes. Keep that light. And with these ones that you want to keep light, keep them light. You know, start out really light and just kind of add your color slowly. and just kind of brush it on. And kind of resist the urge to do it exactly the same everywhere. I know that's hard to do. We want to color everything in line to line, so it's kind of hard to break that habit. But I think you'll be happier with it if you do that, if you can learn to do that, just not color in everything exactly the same. I think you'll be way happier. And you can also, you know, if you want this super light and, you know, you can always stamp it off too. So keep that in mind when you're stamping these. If you want it super light, you can just stamp it off. Okay, so we can add some cute little pink cheeks to him if we want to. Some over here. And again, this, you want to start out light, and then you can just kind of add as much as you want to. And then since we're in the red, we might as well just do his little bow tie. You can do this any color. I like the combination of the gray and the red. So cute. And now you can take some of this dark gray and get his little feet, this little detail in his feet. And now let's do the little detail on him. So we're going to take some of this dark and just kind of make these little lines, these little stitch lines. And then make sure you have a bend when you're doing this one on his little head, so it looks like he doesn't have a flat head. And you can just kind of do as much as you want to. Okay, I think that's pretty good. He is finished, and wasn't that simple? So easy. And now the only thing left is to cut him out, and then his little hands cut out. So you could see on this one that's cut out, the little hands cut out from the die. So then you can place anything you want in there. Super cute. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Finish that one. So let's go on to the little fox, this guy. So we are going to color him in 2 colors. Put him on the block here. So we're going to do him in 2 colors. We're going to do him in the dark brown. He's a little darker. He's a little darker, and he has gray, really dark feet. So we're going to go over him now with the dark blue, but only where his paws are, where the gray would be. So we're just going to go over this. And then we're going to go over with a red brown. So this is a 947. This is a warm brown. So we're going to go over the other areas with this one. And like I said, if you don't get it perfect, it's okay. Or if you overlap somewhere, that's okay too. It's pretty forgiving. Okay, so now we're going to stamp it onto the watercolor paper. Make sure we get a good impression there. And you can see this one is much darker, but that's easy too. I'm going to turn my palette now so I can get some other colors on here. And I'm going to add some orange and some brown and a little of that red and maybe some gray. So everything is done from your palette. Don't ever try to color directly onto your image unless you just want to add a little detail, like for example with that dark black. You want to add something to the eyes, but or add a detail back in, but don't just color onto the watercolor paper. It's going to be way too dark. Okay, so let's go on from here. So we're gonna start out now pulling this color out of the lines. Get enough water on my brush, pinch it off. So I'm dipping my brush in water and pinching it off. So we've got a highlight here at the top. Again, there's a little pause, and you can see these are gray now. And a little highlight on the top of his feet, just a little one. And now we can move on to the rest of his body where we have that warm brown. And his little haunches are like the cat, so there's a little bit of a highlight on here. And this area here is white, as well as his little belly. So I want to keep the color out of there. And again, even though he's darker, you can see he's way darker, but I've kept this area where his face is light. And see along his little nose, you can go in there and pull some of this color out from the top. And I'm actually, you know, really just kind of pushing the color. I'm not really brushing anything. I'm just kind of pushing the color around. And I'm just going to soften these lines here. So this is white. So I'm just kind of creating a little shadow here, like we did with that little cat. Okay, now he's pretty light, so we're going to add some color to him. Let's finish up this little tail here. So we're going to add some color to him. We're going to mix, now we're going to mix some of this orange and brown, which is the coolest thing about using a palette is that you can mix your colors. So that, you know, does a couple of things. So not only do you not have to have a million markers, but you get a really nice mix of color. So it's not just the same one-dimensional color. You can actually really mix it up. So if you want him a little redder, then add a little more red or orange to your color palette. And kind of mix it up a little bit. And I'm just brushing this on. And on the side, you know, we think about something that's a contour, you know, it's the sides that are the darkest. So that's in here. And just keep brushing this color on. If you're not moving the color, you don't see the color going on smoothly, then get a little more water onto your brush. You just don't have enough water on your brush. So you can make him a little redder here. And add a little more color. And you can blend it out. So if you think I can see that mine's a little blotchy here on the top. I can just blend that out with water, just plain water. I'll get some of this orange in here, his little shoulders. And then I really want this dark here where his little tail is, underneath. So it just takes a little longer with something that's darker, but I wanted to make sure I did one that was darker so that you could see that it's just as easy. You just want to do a few more passes with the color. So when that dries, you just add more color to it, and then it'll just get darker and darker. So here I'm applying the color where it's the darkest, so that's at the bottom because the light is at the top. So you just want to make sure that's light at the top. Okay, so let's add our detail into the little face here. Try to leave a little highlight on the eyes. It's also really important. You can see how that just really pops things up when you add that dark color in there. And then we can add these back in here since we kind of blended them out. No big deal. And we are finished with the little, oh, let's do the little ears here. We were almost finished with the little fox. Let's just do his little ears. And now we are finished with him. And you can see my second version is a little bit redder than my first one, but that's okay. That's how easily you can change the color out. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. And that's the little owl. So let's just put him on the block up here. And we are going to do this one in 2 colors. So we want him to be lighter. This is a gray and the light brown. It's just a lighter version. So it's a brown, but a lighter brown. So, and here's that warm brown color. This is 947. And just get this whole thing. And stamp him on here. There we go. So let's put this guy next to it. We can see. And then, of course, we're starting out by pulling the color out of the lines. First step. And just pull this color out here. Give us a good base color. And then we can add some more color. So you can see there's a lot of color in here when you color the lines. There really is. So it's a lot to work with. And if you just keep in mind where the highlights are. So the top of a contour, that's where the highlight's going to be. And I'm just going to add a little color now to this sky. A blue. There's my favorite blue again. And then always dip your brush in water and then apply it this way. It's just so much easier. So you're not getting too much color on there. It's always better to start out light because you can always make another pass and make it darker. That's easy to do. But once you have it too dark, it's pretty hard to go in and wash that out and make it lighter again. So now we're coloring his little wings. And again, you can see the top where it's a little bit lighter. And then taking a little of this orange and just brushing this in here. And then I can actually take some of that orange and just apply it to his little beak here. And maybe his little toes. Whenever you're in red or orange like that, you always want to clean your brush off. And now I'm just going to put this detail back in here. And then brush this out. And then add a little color down here where his toes are. Just a little bit more with this blue. And then to do the face, keep the face really light. And what I do is I always try to show the big eyes. So it's pretty hard with a stamp because it's too bold. So I kind of do that with my brush. So just kind of give the idea of those big eyes, and then just take your brush and just kind of go around like this. Just the idea of it. And you can come back in here and make some little details, you know, with the darker color. In here. And then let's add our dark color, of course. Fine tip. And that about does it. I think that's about done. So now you can just cut these little guys out and put something cute in their hands and put them on a card and give them away. You're gonna make someone's day. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Get your watercolors out and color something. It's super fun and super fast. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you all again next week.